And I will give you a hint, we definitely bought more than that this week because we believe Ethereum prices have actually bottomed. And the only way we'll know is if we make new highs in January, which is our bet. Well, I think Bitcoin's going to get to 250,000 within a few months.
펀드 스트렛의 CIO이자 월가를 대표하는 전략가 톰 리가 최근 위기에 빠진 암호화폐 시장에 대한 자신의 전망을 공개했습니다. 과연 현재의 부진한 흐름은 약세장의 시작일까요? 아니면 새로운 기회의 신호일까요? 톰 리의 전망을 함께 살펴보시죠.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be speaking to you, and especially this time, because as you know, crypto's had a rough run since October. Pessimism has risen. I've known a lot of people that are ready to throw in the towel, and so I think this is a great time to be talking to you about crypto and why I'm so bullish on Ethereum. So the title of the talk is The Crypto Super Cycle is Intact. But let me level set for a bit, and let's look back at the last 10 years. In December 2016, you could have said, I want to own the S&P, and you would have tripled your money, which is pretty good. You could have bought gold, because you might have been a gold bug, and you quadrupled your money, or quadrupled your money. Or you might have been really smart and bought NVIDIA and made 65 times your money. But if you bought Bitcoin 10 years ago, which is right around the time we started recommending it to FundStrat clients, you had 112x. But outperforming Bitcoin was Ethereum, which was a 49 times return. I'm sorry, 500 times, almost a 500 times return of your money. So that was the last 10 years. Now we're in 2025, and when I look back at what happened this year, we've had a lot of major positive fundamental events, but the price action's been terrible. So here are some high-level bullets of what I think have been the high points. The first is the US government became very pro-crypto and setting the standard for the Western world. The second is several US states and the US government plan or have executed a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Huge deal. The third is that BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF is now their top 5 highest generating generating product for BlackRock. I mean, think about that. They launched that only a year and a half ago, and it is one of their most profitable ever ETF products. Now, JP Morgan, which as you know, has been a hater of crypto for many years, is launching a JP Morgan coin on Ethereum, but they're not the only ones, there's others. Tokenization has become a big buzzword and priority for all these major financial institutions. And then these last two things are probably more important than you realize. There have been probably three breakout products that are crypto native that have changed how traditional financial markets make decisions. One example is Polymarket, which really used prediction markets to actually generate so much information that, I mean, at FundStrat, I think it's the closest thing to a crystal ball. And then Tether has proven to be the top 10 most profitable bank in the world. I mean, think about that. It's a crypto native, singular line, monoline business, and it's one of the top 10 most profitable banks in the world. But I think the real story in 2025 is tokenization. It all started with stablecoins, and that was Ethereum's ChatGPT moment, because all of a sudden Wall Street realized that if you just tokenize the dollar, you could make a lot of money. But now financial institutions are saying tokenization is going to transform finance. In fact, Larry Fink says it's the biggest, most exciting invention since double entry bookkeeping. I mean, first of all, I don't know if that's that exciting, but it is apparently a huge deal. And I mean, this picture is, this is monumental too. Brian Armstrong and Larry Fink together talking on DealBook. So if you're bearish on crypto or you think the best days are behind us because of the last 10 years, I'm going to disagree. Keep in mind today, there's only 4.4 million Bitcoin wallets that have more than $10,000. By contrast, there's almost 900 million individuals around the world with more than $10,000 in their retirement accounts. So if Bitcoin were to be held by all these accounts, that's a 200 times increase in adoption. That's still, to me, exponential and hypergrowth. Bank of America Fund Manager Survey still shows 67% of fund managers have zero allocation to Bitcoin. Wall Street wants to tokenize all financial products. And keep in mind, financial products today, if you include real estate, it's almost $1 quadrillion that they want to put onto the blockchain. And then, of course, in the agentic world, it's going to create a need for decentralized trust and security, of course, which is what blockchain solves. So to me, I think the best years are still ahead. So let me explain to you why I think crypto prices have bottomed. First of all, crypto is acting like there's a crypto winter because gold's up 61% year to date, S&P's up almost 20%, and you can see Bitcoin and Ethereum actually are negative year to date. And I really like this article by Jeff Dorman at Arca, who said, "The selling that nobody can explain." I think many people can say why they think crypto prices have fallen, but nobody really understands why. But here's what I just want to point out. This is Bitcoin's year-to-date performance, and Bitcoin was having a good year until October 10th. Now, after October 10th, a lot of people tried to explain why crypto is declining. It's the quantum risk to Bitcoin, crypto winter starting. I have so many traditional investors telling me that's the only reason. They say, "Tom, it's the 4-year cycle." Of course, we had the October 10th liquidation event, the biggest liquidation in history. People say it's the AI stocks have captured mind share. MicroStrategy recently said they might sell their Bitcoin. That scared some people. MSCI may exclude digital asset treasuries from indexes. And of course, Tether got a ratings downgrade. So maybe some of these could explain why crypto's down. But just keep in mind, crypto was up 36% until October 10th. And then it's gone straight down. I personally think it has a lot to do with deleveraging. And as you know, after the FTX collapse, it did take 8 weeks before market makers recovered and crypto could start to see price discovery again. And we're basically 7.5 weeks past that event. Now, Bitcoin made a decision about 5 weeks ago to engage Tom DeMark because we wanted to understand what was happening with crypto prices. Now, if you don't know who Tom DeMark is, he's a legendary market timer. At Fundstrat, I've used him to call 2 of the major market lows, the March 2020 low and the April tariff lows. Those were all in coordination and consultation with Tom DeMark. And Tom only has 2 clients today. We're his second client. And he's very expensive, actually. Tom has advised us to dramatically slow our Ethereum purchases. And as you can see here, once we engaged Tom, we took a different strategy with regard to our Ethereum purchasing. And you can see our Ethereum purchases fell by half to 50,000 a week. But we've begun to buy Ethereum again. You can see last week we bought almost 100,000 ETH, twice what we did 2 weeks before. And I will give you a hint, we definitely bought more than that this week because we believe Ethereum prices have actually bottomed. So we're bullish on Ethereum. But let's go back to the 4-year price cycle for Bitcoin because it's still hard to escape this chart. 3 of 3 times since the history of Bitcoin, the 4-year cycle, or 3.91 years, exactly called the top and the lows. So the question is, why is Bitcoin subject to a 4-year cycle? We asked the Fundstrat Digital Assets team to give us the 5 most logical reasons for this. There's the halvening cycle, there's monetary policy, margin debt. But the 2 things that I think have actually become more important in our view is gold versus copper, and then the ISM, or which is just your traditional economic business cycle. So let me explain. So the halving could explain Bitcoin because the halving is pre-computed, but the problem with the halving cycle explaining Bitcoin's price is that there's a lot of other things that have a 4-year cycle. Presidential elections, Olympics, World Cup, etc. But there are some things that follow a 4-year price cycle that no longer follow a 4-year price cycle. And one of them is copper versus gold. And this is a tweet from AO BTC analyst. And we decided to recreate it, which is, let's look at the ratio of copper prices, which is measuring industrial activity, to monetary base, which is gold. And in the past, you can see it had a predictable 4-year cycle, except this time. And if you line it up with Bitcoin and copper, they actually line up almost perfectly. But copper and gold are not in a 4-year cycle now because that ratio should have peaked this year. Similarly is ISM. ISM is a measure of US economic activity, and historically that had a 4-year cycle. But as you can see, the ISM is not following a 4-year cycle today. It's actually stayed below 50 for almost 3.5 years. If you line up the ISM to Bitcoin, you can see it almost perfectly explained every Bitcoin cycle, including the original Bitcoin price peak. So it's even more explanatory than the 4-year cycle. But again, this time the ISM is not peaking. So here's the question I'd ask you. If the industrial cycle is no longer following a 4-year cycle, and copper gold isn't following a 4-year cycle, I'm gonna say I don't know if Bitcoin should follow a 4-year cycle. So I'm not in the camp that Bitcoin price has peaked. And the only way we'll know is if we make new highs in January, which is our bet.
톰 리는 현재 부진한 가격 흐름에도 불구하고 기초 여건은 오히려 역사상 가장 강력한 수준이라고 말합니다. 미국의 친암호화폐 정책 전환, 연방 및 주 정부 차원의 전략적 비트코인 보유, 블랙록 비트코인 ETF의 폭발적인 수익성, 그리고 JP 모건을 포함한 전통 금융기관들의 토큰화 진입을 대표적인 근거로 제시합니다. 그는 이러한 변화들이 단기적인 가격 변동과는 별개로 암호화폐가 금융 시스템의 일부로 편입되고 있음을 보여주는 신호라고 설명합니다. 또한 그는 현재의 가격 하락을 단순히 4년 사이클로 설명하려는 시각에 의문을 제기합니다. 과거에는 비트코인 가격과 함께 움직이던 ISM 지표와 금, 구리 비율이 이번 사이클에서는 더 이상 4년 주기를 따르고 있지 않기 때문입니다. 이에 대해 톰 리는 산업 사이클 자체가 변하고 있는 상황에서 비트코인이 반드시 과거와 같은 주기를 반복해야 할 이유는 없다고 말합니다. 즉, 과거의 패턴보다 현재의 거시 환경을 더 중요하게 봐야 한다는 의미입니다. 이러한 분석을 바탕으로 그는 이번 하락을 구조적 약세가 아닌 대규모 디레버리징 이후 나타나는 일시적 혼란으로 해석합니다. 실제로 펀드 스트렛은 최근 매수 규모를 다시 빠르게 늘리고 있으며 톰 리는 이더리움 가격이 이미 바닥을 찍었다고 믿고 있다는 점을 분명히 밝혔습니다. 그리고 혹시 거래 수수료 절반을 다시 환급받는 방법 아직 모르시나요? 단 5분만 투자하면 평생 수수료 돌려받는 셀퍼럴, 선택이 아닌 필수입니다. 자세한 내용은 영상 더보기란을 확인해 보세요.
Okay. So that gets us to the price of Ethereum. As you know, Ethereum has been range bound for 5 years, as I've shaded here. But it's begun to break out, and that's one of the reasons why myself and Mosaics, Shen from Mosaics is here, we got very involved with Ethereum by turning BitMine into an Ethereum treasury company because we saw this breakout coming. And maybe more importantly, the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio we think is also going to have a breakout. Now this might actually be more important because Bitcoin and Ethereum are really the two most important crypto L1s or blockchains out there. But if 2025 is about tokenization, that means Ethereum's utility value should be rising. Therefore, you should watch this ratio. Okay, well, what does that mean for Ethereum's price? Well, I think Bitcoin's going to get to 250,000 within a few months. And if Ethereum price ratio to Bitcoin gets back to its 8-year average, that's $12,000 for Ethereum. I mean, that's a huge move. If it gets to the 2021 highs, that's $22,000 for Ethereum. But I think Ethereum is going to become the future of finance, the payment rails of the future. And if it gets to 0.25 relative to Bitcoin, that's 62,000. So I think Ethereum at 3,000, of course, is grossly undervalued.
오늘 영상 도움이 되셨다면 구독 똑, 좋아요 똑 부탁드립니다. 감사합니다.